Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Bonjour, bienvenue. This is Major League Soccer with Zebu Nation. And I've been considering a name for this series, and I'm thinking about calling it Making an Impact with Zebu Nation. And obviously, that's a play on the name of the team that we're following here, the Montreal Impact. But also, I've been watching some videos that the Impact have on their YouTube site, and they've got these sort of behind-the-scenes videos of their preseason matches. And one of the players mentioned that their new manager told him to go out and make an impact. And that just seems to make sense. If you're going to name your club the Impact, I can imagine that being part of their entire being, like their entire franchise. Tell the fans, make an impact on the game. Go out in the community, make an impact. Tell the players that. So I think it makes sense. Maybe it's a little too on the nose, but I kind of like it. So we'll think about that. Making an impact. Is that a good name? Do you have a better name? Let me know in the comments. I don't know. The other thing that made me do is it made me look up this new coach they've got. Remy Gard. He's a former player. He's played at some pretty impressive places. Actually bring him up here on the screen. 51 years old. From France. Take a look at his history here. His, career stats. How about that? Look at that. He played at Lyon. He played at Strasbourg. Played in Arsenal for 3 years. So maybe there's some Arsenal fans out there who remember this guy. From 97 to 99. Apparently didn't have a lot of goals. Didn't make a huge impact during his playing days. He even played a little bit for the French national team from 1990 to 1992. Not great years for the French national team. He's also coached some pretty important places. He's coached at Lyon, coached at Aston Villa. Unfortunately, it was during the last season, 2015-2016, when they got relegated, so that's why he got the job here at the Impact. But still, he's been around. I like his attitude. I like his energy. So I think he might do some good things at the Impact. He has had some success. He won a couple of cup competitions in France. Basically the equivalent of the French Cup and the French Champions Cup. So that's pretty good. He's got some hardware in his trophy case. And currently, in this weird little save, he's coaching Seattle. So we're going to face this guy not in the real world. We're going to face this guy in our little weird dimension that we've created in Football Manager. So we got to watch out. Next time we play Seattle, or the first time we play Seattle, I guess, we have to see how this guy coaches against us. It'll be interesting. All right. So let's get on to today's episode. I'm going to take this save kind of slowly, and I'm going to bring it along maybe week by week. And I'm recording this on February 10th. So we've got a game today versus Toronto FC2. But first I want to go over our first preseason game a little bit. And this is all preseason. We're still in the preseason. Played an away game at Chicago, which we haven't really planned our preseason as well as the actual team planned their preseason, because they're down in Las Vegas, for their training camp and playing against the Las Vegas amateur team down there. Unfortunately, our first two games, we got Chicago and Toronto, which is February. Shouldn't be playing outdoors in either of those cities, but I guess we're going to have to. Let's take a look at this game. It wasn't a huge game, but 1-0 is pretty good, especially when you look at the young players we played. Jop in goal, Salmon, Fisher is a young defender, only 23 years old. Taylor's one of our draft picks. Tran. Watts, of course, is our veteran in there. Goyette, 22. Martin, 21. Romero and Petrasso, they're two of our veterans. Two guys who are going to play quite a bit for us, even though Petrasso is only 22. But still, we played a very young team. And Chicago played their entire roster. So let's take a look at the highlights. And we'll just go with key highlights for a minute here. So as you can see, Giroux is in there. Schweinsteiger is in there. They've got Dax McCarty. they've got some pretty good players. Here's our draft pick, Tran, the left fullback, getting it wide to Romero, and just a beautiful cross to Petrasso. So, that's our one goal. That's the goal that wins the game, because we really locked down defensively, and I think that shows some good things when we've got all these young players in there. Here's Allen for Chicago, and this is a guy that my scouts rate pretty highly. I took a look at him. They rate him as 4-star potential. Came over from Real Salt Lake. He was part of their academy. He's only 22 years old, but our team, you saw his pass there. It was a very quality pass. Here's some of our young midfielders. Louis gets it out wide. Nothing much happening there. Chicago now has, by this point in the game, they've substituted in a lot of new players. There's Bronico. There's a guy our scouts do not rate. They rate him as very low, 22 years old. Not a very good player. But, sometimes you got to play these young guys, and you got to play what you've got. So Chicago looks like they're going to be a very young team, even though they do have some older superstars. There's Bronico again. Just not a bad cross, but our central defense is there. Those young defenders that we drafted are holding it down. There's another one. There's Fisher with the header, gets it out of there. And I'm pretty happy with this performance. Jop didn't have to make a ton of saves, but he did make some good saves. He was flying all over, as you can see from that highlight. But yeah, there's full time. So our youngsters played well. Now it's time to see what our veterans have in store. We're going to be playing Toronto FC 2, the Deuce. Not exactly our rivals, but, our rivals' academy team. So we got to look at what sort of tactics we're going to play and what sort of... I guess we'll go with the same formation. It worked pretty well, so we're going to go with our starters in this formation. I don't know if this is going to be our formation going forward for the rest of the season, but right now we're just trying it out in preseason, making sure it still works, because it worked really well at the end of last season. I don't know how, I don't know why. It was just sort of, a very offensive type formation, and everybody enjoyed playing in it, and we scored a lot of goals at the end of the season, or at least enough goals, because our defense is so good, especially with those two central defenders we've got, and a pretty good goalkeeper, obviously. Even though I think a lot of fans of the Impact want to see some of the younger goalkeepers in there. They're not too happy with just playing the same goalkeeper every game. That's at least the rumblings I've heard. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't been following the Impact for that long, but I get that sense during the preseason. We'll see. Maybe it's just normal preseason, like everybody wants to see the backup quarterback in American football and all that kind of stuff. Everybody wants to see the backup goalkeeper. Backup goaltender in hockey is always the most popular player, So we'll see if that continues. Obviously, if he stops shots the way he did for us, we actually got an achievement last year for lowest concessions in the league. So that's pretty good. All right, we got a player out on loan. Mancosu has been injured. He's coming back, though. He should be monitored, but he can play. So we're going to play him. So here's our full team. We're going with the 4-2-4. Give it a shot. See what's up. Team selection. Oh, we got somebody who's been loaned out. Crepeau. Yeah, we need a third goalkeeper. We don't currently have a third goalkeeper, so we got to figure out what to do. Who do we want to bring in? I guess we'll bring in Pace. All right. As the 12th man, just in case emergency. We need some backup wingers. We don't have a lot of backup wingers, so that's going to be an issue. But here we are, the starting lineup. Bush in goal. Gilio at left fullback, Hassler at right, Diallo and Cabrera in the central defense, Piet, Teder in the midfield, Vargas and Romero on the wings, Jackson Hamill and Mancosu at the striker position. So it's a very offensive, very forward-looking formation. So let's go. Let's attack these chumps and get it over with quick. Might be a preseason friendly, but I still expect a win. Let's go. Allons-y. Let's go. There's a little handshake playing at their backup stadium here. I don't know where Toronto FC 2 plays. To look that up. There's Osorio. That's a familiar name. I don't think that's the Osorio because he plays forward for the actual Toronto. We got a lot of familiar names, but I don't think they're the real people. Osorio, 23 years old, left midfielder, playing defensive on the left-hand side. That doesn't look like him. I don't think it's quite him. This is obviously not Marky Delgado. This is Guillermo Delgado. Okay. Haven't really looked at Toronto FC 2 very tightly. I should probably get a team report. A little tip that I learned from another, I don't remember if it was a YouTuber or a streamer. I think it was a streamer that I saw. But yeah, he said if you send your scouts to get a team report, they'll bring you back a report of players on the opposition team that are interested in coming to your team. So that's kind of helpful. That especially if you're going out just sort of randomly scouting and, you know, begging for players. Oh no. Piet. Injured. Potential groin injury. That's no good. Let's bring in Martin, the ball-winning midfielder. More of a central midfielder, so we'll put him in there. That's no good. Can't afford to lose Piet at this stage in the... Well, I guess at this stage we could afford to lose him as long as he's back for the regular season, but definitely one of our more important players that we don't want to lose. All right. Hassler with the free kick. Drops it to Martin, to Mancosu. Jackson gets it stolen. Mancosu can't get it back. Jackson, though. Not great play in the midfield, but that's going to happen in the preseason because these guys are not match fit. For most of these guys, it's their first action of the season, so things could be a little bit rough. This is Sario. Romero's one of our guys who played in the last game. He's going to be a little tired. He gets it forward to Martin, the youngster. Vargas, the inside forward, acting as that third striker up front. Nice shot. He's a guy who's going to get a lot more playing time for us. He played well at the end of the season last year, and I want to see some more of that from him. Martin also showing some of that technique that he's got. Nice little pass. Dropped it off to Vargas, and great finish. Great finish. All right. So we should win this match, but I want to win it impressively, and that's kind of stuff is going to help. Romero's not playing too well, though. Romero's a guy, I don't want to replace him, but I feel like he might be replaceable. He's got to perform. He's got to produce. I'm not going to allow these guys to just sit around and... Not just going to sit around and sort of be comfortable in their positions and say, well, we've been here for a while, the fans like us or whatever, so we don't have to produce. But I'm not going to allow that. 6.4 ratings is not going to be the norm for a 28-year-old. I mean, he's pretty good. He's a good leader. Teamwork could use a lot of work, though. So that's kind of a drawback to his game. 2 minutes of stoppage time. Here we go. Toronto FC 2. Campbell. The free kick sends it wide. Oh, boy. There's a foul. Our young 17-year-old Giglio with the foul. We're going to give up a penalty kick right at the end of the half. Let's see if our man can get the stop. Not even close. Carpio gets the goal. All right. They tied it up. So that's one strike against our young 17-year-old. But this is his first game. He's a little nervous. Got a 5.9 rating. That ain't no good. Got 12 tackling. That should be pretty good enough. I don't know. Let's go. Tackling has been pretty good today, but we're also committing too many fouls. We have team instructions stuck in? What is that all about? I thought we just had... Oh, we're using last year's mentality. This was last year's mentality. This is what won us a lot of games. High pressure, attacking, stuck in, tight marking, all of that stuff. So let's turn off a lot of this. That seems better. Let's just go standard and get through the day. Okay, let's see if that works out a little better. Go to the dressing room. Tell them, what do we tell them? This is why we go through preseason. Let's go. Come on. All right. So I guess we'll continue using that strategy until it stops working. You know, this team... Oh, there's Mancosu. Great run. Oh, a stop. A big stop. What are you doing? You're our best striker. You got to score that. There's Jackson. Mancosu's going to get another shot. No. Not so good. Having that target man up there with Mancosu takes a lot of pressure off him because we can just send it into the big guy, Jackson Hamill, and he can bring it down. I saw Jackson Hamill score a goal against Toronto last season. I was looking up highlights of some of these guys. You know, trying to acclimate myself to the team as much as possible, and he does look like a pretty good striker. Big kid, pretty fast. Can score the ball pretty deftly. You know, I don't know that he's second coming or anything like that, but he seems pretty good. A pretty quality young striker. We'll see how he does for Canada. See if he makes a Canadian national team. He's got 8 caps according to FM. I don't know about real life. I guess we could look him up. I mean, we do have the internet. We do have another computer, and ain't nothing going on in the game currently. We can just type it in. See how accurate Football Manager is, because they weren't real accurate on some things concerning the impact. All right, 82 minutes. Here we got to highlight Daniels for FC2. Gets it to Fernandinho. Asuelo. Oh, John gets the goal. Oh, boy, we're down 2-1. That ain't no good. Let's see. International. Hamill has represented Canada at the youth level. Okay. Received a call-up to the Canadian national team for a pair of friendlies in Morocco in 2016. Made his debut in October of 2016. All right. So there he goes. He has, according to Wikipedia, made 3 appearances versus Bermuda. No, 3 goals. Bermuda, Curacao, and Jamaica. There's a shot by Mancosu, no good. So, okay, they got it right, I guess. As close to right as they need to be anyway. He might have gotten some, I don't know, 2017. They probably played some friendlies or something. Oh, there's a nice interception by Jackson. There's only 1 minute left in the game. Romero is going to run down, try to tie it up all by his lonesome. No, off the post. Oskovich cleans it up. Martin gets it to Giglio. We should have made some substitutions, but we were busy Googling and Wikipedia-ing over here. It looks like we're going to suffer 2-1 defeat to Toronto FC2. Kind of humiliating against our rivals' junior team. Nobody's going to be happy about that, but it is preseason. And, you know, preseason is a good time to suffer defeats like this because now you can yell at your team and you can say, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What's the matter? You gotta play better than that. So let's be assertive. And let's say that, simply put, wasn't good enough. There you go. We got some motivated dudes now. All right. So there you go. There's the team. We got a lot to work on. Piet injured for 4 to 5 weeks. That's going to put a cramp in our style. We're not going to put him on the injury list. This is another MLS rule you might not be familiar with. It's pretty common in a lot of American sports. They have something called the disabled list. And basically what that means is the player, while he's on the disabled list, he doesn't count against your roster. So if we put him on the disabled list, he'll be out for 6 games. No time limit on that, 6 regular season games. That's very important. So the clock on the disabled list doesn't start until the first regular season game. So you don't want to do this in the preseason. Never put a dude on the disabled list on the preseason, because he's not gonna come back for the first 6 games of the season, whether he's healthy or not. So that's no good. So wait till the regular season before you do the disabled list stuff. But what that allows you to do is it allows you to bring up another player and not use up this guy's roster spot. Now the problem is that once this guy comes back and you want to bring him into the team, then you got to drop somebody and send them back to wherever they came from. So maybe you can bring in a young player and then send him out on loan. That's usually what I do. Bring up a young kid from the academy that I was thinking of bringing up anyway. Bring him up for a couple of games, and then when the injured player is ready to come back, you send the academy player either back to the academy or you just send him out on loan. It's not as easy in MLS to send people back and forth between the academies, because the academy is a separate entity in MLS. It's not necessarily considered part of the club, part of the organization, the way it is in a lot of other leagues. So in order to bring up a young kid from the academy, you actually have to sign him as a contract, as a professional contract. You can't just shuttle him between the academy and the main team. So you sign him up, give him a real contract, and then you have to loan him back out to your academy team. So it's kind of funky, a little bit more of a hassle than in other leagues, but that's just the way it is. Now, the other possibility here is season-ending injury list, and that's exactly what it means. His season is over. He can't play in any games this season if you put him on the season-ending injury list. So you definitely don't want to do that at the beginning of the season, unless he suffers a horrific 12-month injury. Then you can put him on the season-ending injury list. The other thing is, if you got a guy that you don't necessarily want to play, you can't loan him out, you can't get rid of him, you could take this as an opportunity to just put him on the bench and not have to have him count against your roster. So it is kind of, you can make it be a little bit of a nefarious move here, or you can make it, to squeeze one more dude out of the roster, right? Like if you got a guy you're trying to get out on loan, you want to keep him, but the loan deals just aren't coming through at that point in the season or whatever, and you're coming up against the roster deadline. You could put somebody on the disabled list for a couple of weeks, a couple of games, 6 games, and then use that time to send somebody else out on loan and then bring him back in. So you can use it in positive ways, you can use it in negative ways, but usually if you manage your roster correctly and you don't try to squeeze every little roster slot out of it, you don't necessarily need to use this disabled list. So it's just an optional thing. Don't feel like you got to do it. All right, that's 5 minutes on the disabled list. I don't know why we bothered with that. So there we go. That's going to be the episode. It's going to be a shorter episode, hopefully. It's probably still a half an hour. But we're going to come back. We're going to probably go to the next preseason game. Do we have any interesting preseason games? We got NYCFC. We got Vancouver Whitecaps. Maybe we'll come back for Vancouver, see what Vancouver's all about. They're one of our Canadian rivals, so we might want to check them out. A home game. Hooray. In, why aren't we playing more games like this in Orange County? 62 and breezy in old Southern California. Or we come back to play in Quebec. It was 35 degrees and sleet. It was heavy snow out there today. So that's no good. All right, that's enough. I'm talking about the weather now. I'm talking about the injury list. Exciting stuff. All right, so we're going to come back eventually at some point in the season. Like I said, we're going to take this a little slower and not whip through the season like we normally do. Unless you're tired of this already and you want me to whip through the season, let me know. But until next time, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.